everybody, I'm Vasel, and today I'm taking a look at Dune Imperium Bloodlines. Now, this is the third expansion for Dune Imperium, but it's a little tricky on this one because this is an expansion. Since the first two expansions came out, they released Dune Imperium Uprising. And so this expands both Dune Imperium and Dune Imperium Uprising. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. But this adds some more stuff to the games, including the Sardaukar and a lot more leaders. Let's take a look. The first thing in the Dune expansion is the Sardaukar. So you have 7 of these dudes, or 7 cubes. You can, come on, who's using these cubes? Look at these cool minis. Anyway, you're going to be placing them on spaces on the board. It shows you in the rule book exactly where you're going to place them off to the side. And this means when you go to those spots, you can buy one. There's a bunch of these cards that are in the game, 14, and these are the Sardaukar commander cards. These are skills. So when you go to a spot that has one of these, you can purchase it for 2 Solari. You'll take it, you can immediately deploy it, and you're going to be able to use it in combat. In combat, it's simply a regular troop with +2. However, if you have one of these in combat, you can use these tiles that you have collected. So if I get 3 of these guys, I will have 3 tiles. If I send one into combat, then I'm going to get the use of all these tiles. If the person is killed or after combat's over, they go away, I get them back and I can pay 2 to keep putting them back in play. So this one, for example, if I have this one in play in combat, when I reveal, I'm getting a spice and an extra troop. Here, if any opponent has a sandworm in conflict, I get an extra sword, but I get a sword outright. And so there are lots of different ones. I think there's probably 2 of each of them. This one lets you trash that to get some extra attack. Here, if you have 3 influence there, you'll get 2 swords. So you can use these to help. There's a bunch of new cards. I'm just going to show you some of them. This one here, the 7th guy is not on the board, and you can recruit that final commander by when you trash this card. There are a lot of cards that have command 6+, which means you have 6 command. You get to do the extra action that's on it. Some cards show this symbol here. That's like a super spy. It's spy with deep cover. It lets you put a spy in a spot where somebody already has a spy. So there's a lot of cool new cards. I mean, look at this possible futures here. Move up any track or take 2 cubes. And if you have another Bene Gesserit card in play, you get both. And the reveal gives you water. What a neat thing. So there's also cards like this that can only go out to where spies are. So I'm just kind of showing you some of the cards here. Some of them won't be used in specific things. Like this one can only be used if you have tech in play. And this one can only be used if you are playing with the contracts. So there's a bit of that. This Spacing Guild has the agent icon shown on all your incomplete contracts. So again, you have to use the Choem contracts for that to work. But there's a lot of really cool cards in this set, and you're going to be moving them all through. Oh yeah, look at this one. Gives you an intrigue card and reveal 2, and if you have 4 more garrison units, another +1 and 3 Solari. So a lot of neat new cards. A couple new combat cards just to keep things kind of up there. You see the new deep cover spy support there. And then lots of new intrigue cards that are going to be in this game. And, you know, I'm showing you a lot of the battle ones here. But there are other ones and a few that give you points. This one, if you have 3 or more water at the end of the game, you'll get a point. And so I like this one too. If you have 3 more tech tiles, you can move up on 2 different levels here. So a lot of cool things. Well, if you got the Rise of Ix expansion, you're going to see something similar here with these technology tiles here. You pay spice for them. They're very expensive, but if you have a high council seat, they cost 1 less spice. And so when you buy tech, which is whenever you go to one of the green spaces at the top of the board, you can just pick a top of any of the 3 stacks. They're kind of spread out evenly, and buy one. And then it will give you kind of a special ability. Some are only going to be able to be used with the Choem expansion from Uprising, and some only work with Uprising and don't work with regular Dune Imperium. But like, hey, if for each intrigue card you draw or steal during your turn, you get to deploy a guy to combat. I can look at the top card of my deck at any time. Some also give you an immediate benefit when you buy them, like Sardaukar High Command, which makes getting the commanders 1 less, but it gives you a point when you buy that. So you got to keep that in mind. And so these are going to give you cool special abilities. You do not need to play with the rest of the expansion to add this in. Let's take a look at all the different leaders here, which is kind of a big chunk of this expansion. And I'm just going to call them this leader because I don't know how to pronounce all the stuff in Dune. So just be nice to me in that regard. But this leader here doesn't summon sandworms, but gets a bunch of benefits instead. And depending where you send the agent, gets a bunch of cool things. Now Gaius, this lady who wants to hide her face with this veil here, from the Bene Gesserit here, every card has a spy icon. So if she gets spies on the board, then she can use any card to send them there. And when you recall a spy to gather intelligence, you must. So you have to pull them off and use them. And this helps you get spies on the board. You always can get them in green or pay a spice to put them anywhere. This one can only be used with the tech, where you can look at the bottom tile of each stack and you put one face down. And you can buy this one for one less. And hey, you're going to get spice or trash a tech tile for things. Now, this person here is smuggling spice. When you send an agent to the Turk's Siege, or whenever an opponent sends an agent there, you're going to get bonuses. And they get bonus spice from that. Or take a bonus spice from the maker board space. So if you like spice, this is the person to get. Now, this guy here comes with his own set of Twisted Intrigue cards. They have his picture at the top, and you'll shuffle them and draw one at the beginning of every round. Now, these cards can be stolen by other players and used, and they're not particularly over-the-top powerful, although they're not nothing either. So just that he has his own cards is pretty cool. And he can't deploy this troop to the conflict this turn, but this helps get an extra troop on the board. Duncan is one of my favorite because the Swordmaster board space costs 2 less, so you can get an extra person on board faster. And the agent that you deploy when you use the ring can run into combat. It's just silliness. It's thematic and fun. The Count here can do the super secret spies. There are trash cards, easy to get them. And whenever he trashes a card, gets a coin. You want a smaller deck? This is the person to use. The steersman here starts with no water, and they don't have the signet ring in their space. Instead, they're going to have a navigation deck of cards. This deck here, and you're going to start with 5 of them. And you're going to pick 4 of those 5 and put them in the slots up here. And whenever you reach 2 influence with a faction, you just play the top one. So that gives me a free spy, or I pull a spy to do that. This one says if it is navigation slot 4, for the rest of the game you get 1 money when you reveal. Of course, that's not going to be super early in the game because you need to get to the second 2 influence with all 4 factions to get card 4. So just having all these cards, you're basically going to be activating card 4 times over the course of a game. And you also get to draw cards when you gain spice. And finally, she gets to have a cube here, and whenever you retreat or lose troops, every time you lose 3 troops, move this 3, and it just keeps cycling back, so you're constantly getting spice and water. And you can retreat your troops, or, if you have 2 influence there, turn water into cards. But you need spice and water, and she's going to be constantly providing that for you. And I should mention, when you use this guy, he comes with his own board space here that he's going to add to the board to be able to use with him. So each of these comes with some extra pieces if they have that. And there's some extra cards for solo play and a rule book that tells you how to use all the new solo stuff and how it works with a 6-player game that you're never going to play. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is the base games using this expansion. So there are 2 expansions for Dune Imperium. Then they released Dune Imperium Uprising, which many, myself included, think is a better version of Dune Imperium. The expansions, the first 2 expansions, don't particularly work smoothly with Dune Imperium Uprising. They sort of. This is the opposite. This expansion was clearly made for Dune Imperium Uprising. There's a lot of, well, if you use Dune Imperium, do this, this, and this. You'll start a con, put them on these spots, don't use these cards, do this. Honestly, it's too much work for me to use this with the original Dune Imperium. Honestly, maybe the leaders, throwing some of those leaders in, but I just think this is an expansion for Dune Imperium Uprising. That being said, this is a small expansion in some ways, but it's the kind of expansion that I really enjoy. First of all, the thing I like the most in here are the 9 leaders. That's 9 new leaders. That's crazy. And 4 of them come with extra stuff, their own deck of cards, things that they can play. I love that sort of leader. Even Duncan Idaho, just the fact that his guys just run into battle. I don't know that he's a particularly strong leader power-wise, but it's just so much fun to do that. It just seems like a neat thing. And so I like these leaders. I think they're very diverse. I think there's some that are easy to use, like Duncan, and some that are pretty tricky to use, just like the original game. But this just really, really kind of diversifies how many leaders you can pick, and every game is going to feel differently. And then secondly, the more cards. Just more cards is great in general. And these cards really slide in smoothly. When I played with them, I mixed them up very thoroughly and I noticed some of the new cards, but I didn't feel like the game unbalanced in any way. Lots of great cards in the game. I will say, as a side note, that I still use one of the modules released in one of the previous Dune expansions, where we always let someone wipe the cards once per game. Each player can do that once per game. We also let them wipe the technologies once per game if they want to. The technology here is pretty much identical to what we've seen before in the Dune Imperium expansion. I like it. I like the fact that going to the green spots, which are often the spots people go to the least, gives you that discount on spice. Spice is a very precious resource in the game, often used to bring in a pile of troops to a battle. Getting these abilities early on is great, but it's pretty hard because, well, getting spice is hard to get early in the game. But if you can have one of these special abilities throughout the game. I like it, but I think your games are going to fluctuate. Sometimes you'll have games where people go for it. Sometimes it will be ignored. I don't think it's a necessary module, just like I think if I was picking a module to use, I would use the module in Dune Imperium Uprising, the Chom Missions module, which, by the way, there's more of those in this expansion. I think I would use that first, or use them both together. The Sardaukon are really cool. I thought it didn't seem like a major change to the game, although an experienced Dune player pointed out to me that it's a good way to sync Solaris. There's not a lot of ways to use Solaris in the game, and here now you can hire these guys, and so it's sort of a trooper that you can use that gives you some minor special abilities, but those minor special abilities just might be enough to swing the tide your way. They also look really cool. I do find it weird that they included the plastic miniatures and the cubes. I suppose people would want to use cubes over plastic miniatures. It's just like the original Dune Imperium Uprising. They included little flat wooden worms and these cool plastic ones. Why would you use the wooden ones? But hey, I guess it's there for everybody. Overall, this is an expansion that if you play the game, you could teach this to people. And I did teach it to somebody who never played Dune Imperium Uprising before, and they were fine with it. But it's for people who played Dune Imperium Uprising a lot and want more stuff in it. And that's kind of where I'm at with this. So this is an 8.5 for me, a very enjoyable expansion, one that I will be almost always playing with Dune Imperium Uprising, at least most of it, especially those new leaders. I really love them a lot. Anyway, that's Dune Imperium Bloodlines. I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel.